Hey, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. It is a Wednesday night, September 23rd, episode 213. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you're listening to the audio podcast or you're watching the live stream on YouTube right now. Glad you're joining us tonight. And again, I don't know why I'm saying us or we, things like that, since I'm the only one here right now. But unfortunately, on this episode, I have to start off with some sad news today, and that's the passing of Road Warrior Animal. Just a huge loss for the world of pro wrestling. And for me, growing up as a huge fan of the Road Warriors, watching them when I was a kid, watching them in WCW and in WWF as the Legion of Doom. This one got to me, and like I mentioned, I was a huge fan of Animal and Hawk, and it when Hawk passed away, it also affected me on a personal level, being such a huge wrestling fan. And I would say, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me, definitely one of the best, if not the best, tag team in the history of pro wrestling. One of the most popular, just two larger than life characters, the face paint, the the mohawks, the shoulder pads, the spikes. Everything was just awesome about them, especially when I was a kid. I just like the look of them, they were just so intense, just so in your face in the ring, and both of them, Road Warrior Hawk passed away back in 2003, I believe, and now unfortunately Road Warrior Animal just turned 60, I think, about a week and a half ago. And another thing I heard, just celebrated his wedding anniversary yesterday. Passed away early this morning. But both of them will definitely be missed by all pro wrestling fans all over the world. And definitely rest in peace, Road Warrior Animal. And now, just AEW Dynamite tonight. We start off with some tag team action, and it is Kip Sabian with his best man, not a best man, the best man, Miro, and they are taking on Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Miro and Sabian pick up the win in this match at 12 minutes 32 seconds. And then, as we found out earlier today, the Murder Hawk monster Lance Archer, either he or someone he was in contact with, tested positive for COVID, so he was not at Dynamite tonight. So plans got changed a little bit, and tonight we will see a AEW World Championship match, Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. And as of right now, what I hear is that the match scheduled for October 14th, Jon Moxley versus Lance Archer for the AEW title, is still on as of right now. Supposed to take place October 14th for the special anniversary episode of Dynamite. So I'm sure we will just have to stay tuned to that one. All the AEW social media, AEW Dark, AEW Dynamite. But I think there's a chance the match will still happen. John Moxley versus Lance Archer. And next up is Evil Uno taking on Hangman Adam Page, and Kenny Omega is on commentary for this one. And Page gets to win 8 minutes, 35 seconds. And we see Tony Schiavone from earlier today in the back interviews Matt Jackson. And he is not super kicked like Alex Marvez and referee Mike Posey were last week. But Matt Jackson did smash his iPhone. And so this new persona heel turn from the Young Bucks. And the TNT Championship is on the line next. Mr. Brody Lee taking on Orange Cassidy. It is Mr. Brody retaining at 11 minutes, 41 seconds. And then after the match, we see the return of the American Nightmare Cody to get some revenge back from the August 22nd episode of Dynamite, where when he was originally taken out by the Dark Order. And we will see them, Mr. Brody Lee and Cody, I believe, next week. And also, we have tag team action. Ivelisse and Diamante taking on Thunder Rose and Hikaru Shida. And we see Chris Jericho and MJF in the back. And they talk about what happened last week where they're being interviewed by Tony Schiavone. And then they each walk away and we see the split screen and they call each other a loser. But tonight they deny it, both of them. And they say they did not call the other a loser. MJF says he was calling the limo drivers losers because they almost bumped into each other. And Jericho says he was calling Tony Schiavone a loser. And then MJF agrees and calls Tony a loser. And they both mock him a little bit. And the main event of the evening is next for the AEW World Championship. Eddie Kingston challenging John Moxley. Pretty good match here. Moxley picks up the win via submission, 10 minutes, 50 seconds. And then the post-match, we see the Lucha Brothers make their way to the ring to attack John Moxley. And Will Hobbs tries to make the save for Moxley, but the numbers game comes in effect here. And then we see Darby Allin make his way to the ring. And then Ricky Starks makes his way to the ring with Taz. And the heels get the advantage, lay the baby faces lane, and the show closes. And that is it for tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. Once again, another solid show in my opinion. A lot of good action here. The main event was very good in my opinion. Mr. Brody Lee and Orange Cassidy was definitely a good match. Was I don't know if it was quite as good as I thought it was going to be, but definitely not a bad match at all. And Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone did mention Road Warrior Animal on commentary, and I didn't mention this in the recap, but Thunder Rosa with her face paint actually paid tribute to Animal with her face paint, and I'm sure we will get maybe a video tribute Friday on SmackDown. At least a graphic for sure, definitely graphic probably this Friday at SmackDown. I don't watch NXT on Wednesday nights. Obviously, I watch Dynamite, but I will be watching NXT, and I don't know if there was any mention, any graphic or anything. But speaking of NXT, we Kyle O'Reilly is now the number one contender for the NXT Championship. Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody, but I spoiled it for myself too because I haven't watched this week's NXT yet either, to be honest. So, as I mentioned during the recap of Dynamite, Lance Archer uh, tested positive for COVID. So, that is the reason he was not at Dynamite tonight. But apparently, the match is still set for the AEW World Championship. Lance Archer versus Jon Moxley. AEW is selling limited edition shirts, Death of Cody merch for 24 hours at shopaew.com. And Candice LeRae is now the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship at the next TakeOver. CM Punk has been online poking a little fun at Retribution. And in case you haven't listened to it yet, Uncool with Alexa Bliss has debuted the new podcast with her guests, The Miz and Lance Bass from NSYNC. I've listened to it. It's pretty good, actually. Would I say it's one of my favorite podcasts? No. Better than this one, obviously, but every podcast is better than this one. But so that's not saying much, but it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend at least checking it out. The first couple episodes, anyway, that have dropped so far. And that Impact Wrestling has announced they're bringing back the Impact Plus specials with Victory Road. Once again, they were doing that for a while, having in between pay-per-views, they were having the specials on Impact Plus and Twitch. I don't know if they're going to do any more Twitch specials as of right now, but they are bringing back the ones to Impact Plus. Victory Road coming up, and Eddie Edwards will be facing Eric Young at Victory Road. And I definitely recommend Impact Plus. If you haven't tried it, I believe it's $7.99 a month. Go back, watch all the NWA TNA pay-per-views, all the TNA pay-per-views, Impact Wrestling. There's some indie wrestling And there is a very good service, actually. I would say even kind of underrated because a lot of people might say, "Oh, it's Impact, it's TNA," but there, when you think about it, the talent you'll see on there back from the TNA days: AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, guys like Kurt Angle, Team 3D, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy. So it is definitely worth at least getting the free trial to check it out. Impact Plus, if you have not checked it out yet. And that's all this for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Thanks again for listening or watching, either on the audio podcast or YouTube. I appreciate it very much. And Facebook, 360 Wrestling Podcast, Instagram, 360 Wrestling Podcast, the Twitter, even though I don't use it at all, really, 360 Wrestling Pod, you can get a hold of me there. 360 Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. And all that good stuff. Or leave a comment here in the comment section on YouTube. And remember, stay safe during this COVID time and just be healthy or try to be healthy. I'll try to be back with another episode soon, hopefully for a recap of this Sunday night's Clash of Champions pay-per-view. And once again, rest in peace, Road Warrior Animal. Once again, now reunited with Hawk up there in the big wrestling ring in the sky. Until next time, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.